everybody can host a server. And if you want to get on their website, you need to get onto their server. And it is like going into somebody's house. It could be very clean and very neat, but it could also be very dirty, or they have a very mean dog, or there could be anything going on. Maybe they're smokers, I don't know. And the same is right now with the internet. You just got to hold your breath, hope for the best. For transferring value, you have to go through servers, which is terribly dangerous in a way. Ladies and gentlemen, comrades, welcome to episode 4 of the Quamfy Show. It is February 7th, 2023. We're bi-weekly in English now. We had a comment on the Dutch episode. When English episode, well, here it is. If I remember, I'll put the link in the comment so you can find it. It's another season. We're going to have a chat about this. No, it's not marbles or flippos or whatever. Yes, I am ancient. This time it is AI. And Tim made a tweet. We're going to have a look. Gilbert Verdian was on Twitter because a lot happened in these 2 weeks. Spoke about the SATP, the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, previously ODAP, and the IETF. The working group is approved, which is magnificent news. LACChain won an award. We're going to have a look at that. Just the Tech Guy made a tweet on Socrates, which is, in our opinion, very relevant to the quant community. And an article just came into my mailbox, written by Andrew Carrier, Quant Network Chief Marketing Officer. There were some interesting tags and name drops, a lot of usual suspects. So we're going to comb through that. Well, not really comb through, but give you an overview of what was discussed. Links for everything will be in the description, as well as the timestamps. Use them how you see fit. Tim.
Hey.
How's life?
How's life? Better than last week. For the English listeners who didn't listen to us, couldn't listen to us. Last week was a bit messy on my side. I'm in between. I'm not in between jobs, but in between
assignments.
Assignments, exactly.
Yeah.
So that gave a bit of unrest on my side and some personal things that weren't that okay last week. But a week has passed. Things have gotten back to being pretty normal, and here I am once again recording the Quamfy Show. I'm just baffled by all the people being in AI tokens at the moment, trying to study what's going on there, and well, that's basically drawing my attention. And I think we'll be chatting about it later this episode. So how are you, Jorno?
Yeah, I'm well. Doing the stay-at-home dad again for a while now. Getting a little bit back into the swing of things. And I like it, playing a lot of Skyrim at the moment. I had an Assassin's Creed phase, so I finished. Oh my god, I already forgot. I finished now Valhalla and Odyssey and Origins. So it was time for a change. So I dove back into Skyrim, this game. On my last deployment, I played that game for, I believe, almost 1,200 hours. And it was a new update, and I wanted to get that. So,
are updates still being rolled out for Skyrim?
Yeah, they made an anniversary edition because they existed for 10 years, which is really cool. They added a survival mode and a bunch of new gear, houses, quests. It keeps me busy. Also gets me motivated for playing ESO again, Elder Scrolls Online. Anybody plays that, let me know. I was pretty decent. I have a pretty decent account on PC. I'm kind of hesitant to start over on Xbox because that's a ton of work. I think I'm like, it's not veteran anymore. But I believe I'm rank 1800 or something like that. but getting there and all the stuff that I invested, it will take a lot of time and a lot of money. Anyway, this is not a gaming channel, but that's
No.
what keeping me busy. And
Yeah, well.
and Damien got his shots. He's now 1 year old. He had his shots the other week, so he's a little bit under the weather as the microchips are starting to grasp into his neural system and stuff. I'm joking for the people on the podcast. So yeah, now he's a little bit under the weather, and there's a bit of that going around in the Netherlands right now. My sister was so terribly ill; she has been horizontal for well over 5 days, which is nothing like my sister. Yeah, I visited her the other day. It looked like she was still dying, and that was 4 or 5 days in. So it was pretty crazy. But no, man, all was good. Super Quamfy. I love the development.
Besides that,
yeah, man. But those
I
are
can
just
imagine.
things of life, and that's all good.
Same on my end, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, like things in life, they pause eventually. Like a week goes by, and then things get back to normal. Then now you said we're not a gaming channel, but I am pretty excited, at least interested in that Hogwarts Legacy game. I know it's been this hype for a couple of years now, and it's coming out this week, so I might start playing.
What is that? Is that Harry
It's
Potter
from
or something?
it's from Harry Potter, indeed. Yeah, and it's pretty cool.
I've never played a single Harry Potter game.
No, me neither. But apparently it should be good. So there are some cool games going towards PS5 in the future. I mean, I'm on PlayStation. In the future, I'll buy an Xbox with it and the Game Pass there. But might be exciting. We're not a gaming channel. We could do a special gaming episode sometime in the future, though.
Maybe let us know in the comments if you're interested. Maybe do a play along, or maybe we could even create a clan if we can find enough people on ESO. Did you play ESO?
I didn't. No.
That's a shame.
I did.
You can actually form clans there and then work together and do how do you call these things? Dungeons and such. I know I sound like a boomer, like this is super fucking new and shit. I know that with all the World of Warcraft people are like, yeah, we've been doing that for ages. I never played that, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, I'm in between assignments and I've started gaming a bit now. I've returned to Battlefield, and actually the game is better than the last time I played it, Battlefield 2042. And I'm still okay, I guess. I mean, I didn't play the game for like months, but I mean, every time I return to Battlefield, I notice that I have my muscle memory is still there, although they completely changed the controls.
I heard that the control mapping, yeah.
The control mapping is terrible. I think I've brought this in a couple of times already.
Yeah.
At least they changed things back around, and after this we'll go into crypto stuff. But apparently EA found it necessary to completely change the layout of the controls, and now they've changed everything back to how it used to be. But it took them like a year and a half to switch things. I mean, I did manually adjust everything back to my preferences, and now the basic settings are like how you would play any Battlefield game. I'm like, what do those developers think? It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, I was playing that today for a bit, and I really enjoyed it. So
it could be that there's a bunch in the utility, because I noticed the same with Assassin's Creed, that some of the utilities changed and some of the functionalities changed. So that's why they remapped everything. But then they mapped it back, so it's no longer this for attack, but now it's this for attack. And it's confusing.
So annoying. Yeah.
But it's also very, very accurate and interesting that we're saying this, because it is us that's the problem. We are used to certain things.
Sure. Yeah.
And when they change the layout of the controls, we get agitated, because that means extra work for us, and confusion and dissonance. And the same, we'll get to that later. Happy communities. But AI season is interesting, because if you hear something in the background, that's Damien. I'm not sure if you can hear it. Apologies in advance. It cannot be helped. But AI season right now, and this was, I mean, it happens, right? Every year in this season, in this period of time, February-ish, we get a new hype, it seems like, right? We had the dog coins in 2021. What was the thing in 2022 again? I forgot.
I don't think it's
was a hype.
seasonal, as in that you can draw parallels to the month in the year, but I do know that they happen. I think last year around this time we were kind of recovering from a market-wide dip. I think Quant went all the way back to like 75 euros, so that would be around $80. I'm not sure what we were doing a year. At least we started the Quamfy show in English around this time last year, but I'm not sure what kind of season it was a year ago. But now it is definitely AI season, and I put out a tweet. So we ditched the gaming part. We're now going to talk about AI. That's fine. So I put out a tweet today, and you might have a look at it. Yeah. So you want to read it?
Yeah. It reads, "It's AI season, folks. Don't worry if you're missing out." In the piece I wrote a year ago, I said this about it from the quant holder perspective.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of text. You want me to read this as well?
Nah, not necessarily. It is from like the chapter I wrote for Nagato and Omega in their ebook.
Yeah.
And I think it is kind of my starting point for the rest of my narrative in there. So I basically say, well, what you will see in crypto is that every few months, or at least after some time, you will see that the narrative in the markets will change, and that you will see that some kind of season is emerging. And then I'm first talking obviously about whether it is Bitcoin season or altcoin season. In the past, that used to be the two main drivers of market activity. But then since, well, a couple of years, since 2020, perhaps earlier, you've seen DeFi, the metaverse, in this case, AI, and there will be some others, even more specific moments where all market momentum is focused around certain projects. And what I'm basically saying here is that, well, don't really feel bad if you're missing out on the casino, because from our perspective, it doesn't really matter here, because whatever the next big thing is, it is all about the fact that they need interoperability at the end of the day. So whatever is driving the crypto market, it will need to be interoperable, because it needs to connect to all those other projects doing the same thing. Otherwise, it won't be a success.
I agree, but interoperability is useless if there are no new projects.
Of course.
So in this case, right, we're talking Tau. So that's BitTensor, VXV. And there's a bunch of others that are probably well known to you guys, not that much to us. I own both, like a handful, right?
I think RNDR is also one of the things that is being.
Oh yeah, so was that renderer?
Yeah, renderer. Yeah.
Like I said, I own both VXV and Tau. I had VXV ever since what they were 2020, 3 cents, 7 cents. What's not.
Yeah.
Then I sold a ton. Then I bought back in a couple of times for a tiny amount of money. And BitTensor just kept getting spammed in my DMs by friends and by fellow admins. I was like, okay, now might as well get some exposure. So I bought like a couple, and didn't really read up on it, to be honest, but I didn't want to miss out. So I threw a little bit of change at it. But that was at 48, $48, something like that, euros, I can remember. That's late, but early. My thinking was, and this was like a little bit over a month back when I bought this, like, might as well get a couple tokenomics.
Have some exposure.
The only thing I know is that it is Bitcoin-esque tokenomics. I was like, okay, let's buy it. But where I'm heading with this, because this is not a shill for AI tokens,
BitTensor, no.
Is if you had exposure to it like a couple of months ago, like I did, I'd say just be happy, be fortunate or not, and just look for a top you think is top, and maybe get out, or do as I do and just hold it. And this is obviously not financial advice because I have no goddamn clue what I'm doing. But one thing you should not do, and we spoke about this in the Dutch group, is trying to get in on the action whilst chasing green candles.
Yeah.
And I gave the example of the crow in the cornfield, right? Everybody is trying to get like this little bit of corn or grain, whatever, but they don't see the giant, what is that, a columbine driving
I
up?
think so.
Yeah, or combine.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll get shredded in the end because the people that have been shilling it for years. And reasons that AI is so interesting now is obviously because of ChatGPT, and there's a lot of there's just a lot of chatter and talk about all these things, how they become the next big thing, not only in crypto but also in traditional markets. I was listening to a podcast of Tim Ferriss the other day, and I can't remember whom he spoke with, but that guy was also really interested, and he's like this big venture capitalists, right? And he was speaking about it and told him that his company, which is like also billions of dollars in assets under management, is looking at it. So there's a lot of buzz, but those guys probably already got in early, if they are in, and they will be taking profits, and that is not dumping on you. I know that feels like that because you were late, but they're not dumping, they're taking profits. And if you were that early, you'd be taking profits as well. So try and put yourself in the position of the people that were early. And we're going to get the same with Quant, right? There are going to be people that are going to be buying Quant for multiples more than you bought it. And they will be paying, as we did, 300-400 easily a QNT, whilst other people bought for 3 to 5. So they made their 100x, they're selling, but they're not dumping on you. They are taking profits, but because they have like 100 to 1K, they have more to dump or sell, and that's hurting you or suppressing price and not working for you. Doesn't mean that people are dumping. Doesn't mean that people are scheming, because that is what I'm seeing a lot. People are sucking people into the space, but by definition, right? It's obviously happening, but they're sucking people in so they can dump their bags. Oh, there's filthy influencers. Then they suck everybody in, and then they proceed to dump on everybody to enrich themselves. I think that is it's an exaggeration of what is going on, and it is very much fed by our own feeling of disappointment or defeat or whatever. Yeah, we're looking a little bit strange because the recording, something happened. I don't know what happened. Maybe Tim was playing around.
No, your connection lost. So the first thing I do is stop the recording immediately.
My connection lost? No, I was thinking.
No, you literally froze. All the sound was gone and your face was... Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. So that's going to happen with the AI tokens, right? Everybody was early. I heard from a couple of guys, they got in at 7 cents for BitTensor. They will be taking profits, right? We're at $70 now. So that's like...
even more, I guess.
I have no idea. I don't watch the price, to be honest. But people are going to take their 10x's, their 100x's. So what you could potentially do, and this is not financial advice once again, is look where the volume spikes were, where a lot of people got in, and then take the mental multiples, right? 10x, 25x, 50x, 100x, 1000x. Those x's from that volume will probably be selling points. I mean, that's how my psychology works. I don't know how about yours. But Tim, what do you have to add on this? Because I've been ranting.
Yeah, well, I think I kind of agree with you, and I also do not at the same time. Because, well, indeed, people can complain that the people taking profits are dumping on you. And that is, well, unfair because, well, you would logically take profits as new people are flowing into the market, are providing liquidity and are pumping the price. On the other hand, I do think, and I think that is also a bit of the criticism that was being voiced by some people in the Dutch community, is that there are some influencers involved here who do not necessarily have the purest name in the crypto space. And I partially agree, because I think what also happens, and I'm not sure if that's the case with BitTensor though, so don't get me wrong. I'm not sure.
$100.
Okay, I have no idea about the project. I don't know the team behind it. I cannot say anything about it.
Neither do I.
No.
I have no clue.
You just made it 2x, so congrats. But what you do see, and also that is something that I'm trying to stay clear of, is that these influencers are getting early access before everyone else to certain projects, so they can buy for prices that other people cannot. So there is no, you cannot really say that there is like an equal entry between everyone.
No.
So when you were more important, you could literally buy for lower prices than the rest of the community.
But that is true, and let me interrupt real quick, because that is true, and it is necessary for a lot of projects, because what those guys do, right? I view influencers this way. Let's say somebody approaches us. Yeah, we'll never ever get in bed with people like that or with contracts like that. But that's not our shtick. But let's say people approach us like, okay, we got this quant thing. Read up on it. If you think it's a cool thing, we could get you a decent price and you can promote it. We then proceed to dive in, do our due diligence, look at the project, and we then shill, for lack of a better word, that project. So we give it some airtime, we give it some references, we're looking at it, and then the ball is in the one that is watching this episode or listening to this episode right now. And here's my point. We give you an opportunity. We had an opportunity. We give you an opportunity. We give you the opportunity to look into this. We pre-digest everything, so we do a part of your work. We give our judgment to a degree, and then the ball is in your court. And what you then need to do is do your due diligence, do your own research, and then make a decision. But it is not our responsibility what you do. If you proceed like I did with Tau, there's so many people in my DMs, I'll just get a handful of those tokens. That's what I did. And will it fail or will it flourish? I don't know, because I have no goddamn clue what I invested in. But if it fails, I will not get into those guys' DM crying that they misled me, because they are just, in this case us, we are just influencers giving you information, giving you exposure. And yes, not all influencers are created equal, right? There are cabals of, just an example, pancake swap, shitcoin projects that are created with one purpose, and that is just to get as much liquidity in a short time as possible and then dump the shit out of it. But that's also why your research comes in. Yes, I was late to BitTensor. Yes, I was arguably late to Quant. I mean, I was one of the first, whatever, 6K in 2020, but still it felt late. There were people that bought for under $1. I bought for 5-ish and still felt late, but now it feels early because it's a good project, because I read up on it, looked good. So I took a calculated risk. And that's the main difference. We've been involved in shitcoin gambling ourselves, TrueBit. Well, I'm not sure if you also got involved in that.
I haven't.
But that's a good example. There was a lot of buzz and a lot of hype. And I threw well over 5 figures in. And thank God I got out with my life and all my money by stopping to listen to people and just dollar cost averaging out whenever it hit a certain point. But some people lost well over 7 figures in that, because we all got too excited and we didn't do the research. We just assumed things. And that was actually not the company, but that was just a guy with deep pockets creating a bonding curve with an algorithm. He had just had really deep pockets, and he created this really nice thing. And then pulled the rug in a way. But we all fell for it, eyes open. But if an influencer, and we all know a couple of guys within the quant community that have this reputation, and I think it is not necessarily fair. I mean, errors in judgment is not the same as misleading people. And you can always argue about people's intentions, but you never notice people's intentions. I think the projects that got brought up mostly are projects with potential, but a lot of things fail, right? So do we then blame the influencer for our own behavior? I don't think that's fair, to be honest. Do you remember where you were, Tim? Sorry for this long rant again.
I mean, I can imagine that you can always say, well, it's the investors who are ultimately responsible, and that is true to a certain extent, but I also do not think that you should underestimate the power of certain individuals in the crypto space. And they are definitely abusing their situation for their own gain. And that makes me skeptical. As soon as I see their names related to a certain project, I
that's
kind of automatically assume that they have gotten some kind of entry price and that they will most likely start to sell as soon as their followers come in. So,
but that is their prerogative. That's their prerogative.
It is.
But that's the game. Without it, you wouldn't even know.
It is, but are we doing it ourselves, for example?
What do you mean?
Would you do it like that? We go approach random protocols. Hey.
No, but that's not our shtick. But some people are just really good at bringing out information to people. They have a certain reputation they built up. Maybe they have a network of people that they know. We also know a bunch of people. I mean, we were really early in Galileo. That's a very, very good example. We spoke about that.
Definitely, but I will not be talking about Galileo for that reason. Like, I'm not gonna comment on it.
No, but how is it different from other people?
How's it different?
I
refrain from making promotion for something I'm really invested in. I don't think it's ethical.
Yeah, but did we or did we not? Because we spoke about this, and
sure, we spoke about it, but always from the perspective of coming from the quant community, talking about, well, this is the thing that's being built on Overledger, but I'm refraining to kind of comment on things which are
that is true. But can you
price action and stuff?
Can you imagine? I mean, there are well over 100 people, most likely Dutch, Belgium, that invested in Galileo because we were involved. I was the COO for a while.
I can imagine that, but I'm just not going to comment on it. No. I'm not going to promote stuff I am personally invested in.
No,
with an advantage.
No, but we did, and people know that we were there and we spoke about it in the Quamfy show. So let's say that Galileo crashes and burns, which is a possibility, right?
Yeah.
Let's say they hit a bump in the road and everything burns to the ground, and the token, if it doesn't get launched, goes to zero.
Yeah.
And let's say people lose their money. What do you think will happen with RDMs? We will be called shitcoin shillers, and we will be most likely on that same list as other people have their on their shit list.
Well, I'm not sure what you all said about Galileo in the past, but I've always made clear that it could go to zero and it could evaporate. And I'm
that
covering
doesn't redeem you. That doesn't redeem us.
I mean, I've always said, well, I'm covering it because of the relationship to
you're missing the point. The point is, people will always feel that they've been done wrong when a project fails. We spoke about it, we covered it, we told it, we had it, I worked for them. If it fails, and that's all I'm saying, people will come into your DMs, most likely, or talking behind our backs. The Quamfy show was selling again, and now they're dead. The project, not the Quamfy show.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing that happens.
I mean, we know what we did, and we know where we try to stay away from, right? We try to keep our boundaries regarding shilling and stuff. But that's our definition, and that's our perception, and that is our reality. And
but other people, well, I think if we know that people are well, sensitive to what we are doing, I think we should stay away from it at all, right?
People are always sensitive to things, right?
Yeah, but I mean, and that's the reason. I think when you have some form of power and knowledge, you could abuse that easily, and I just don't feel like doing that at all. And sure, people can blame you, and that's fine. But as long as I think that I've made a reasonable point, I think there is nothing. They can say it, and then it's their own responsibility. But if I see how certain influencers, certain people in this community have acted,
can you imagine that they feel the same?
You cannot justify that.
Can you imagine they feel the same? Can you imagine that they feel that they have just been providing information, and that we are labeling them as dumpers and scammers
we haven't talked. The only thing we've done so far is talking about fundamentals here, right? We haven't, also because the token isn't listed yet. There's been a pre-sale, so we made people aware that they can enter. But we are not, at least I think, sure, we might do it to just have a look at the charts in the future. But I don't think that we will be taking a course of trying to start talking about like the price action of a certain token, right? We do it with Quant.
Yeah, but that's
fine.
Baby.
Exactly, and we didn't necessarily got in first, so I think we are more neutral there. But I just don't think it's very ethical to start talking about price actions. And sure, cover yourself all you want behind it's non-financial advice, but you have an audience and you have people listening to you, and I think some people in this community are abusing it, and it's not good. It's not a good development. So actually, when they people lose
trust, it is of all times, right? It is of all times. The SEC has specific regulations. You cannot tweet about companies that are listed. You cannot publish things during market open for stocks.
Yeah, and I also think that the Dutch authorities are going after certain influencers because of this behavior. And I think they fully deserve it. They should be jailed in some cases. I wouldn't care. I literally wouldn't care. Lock them up.
For sure. But we got here because of the AI thing.
Yeah, sorry.
And no. I went on 2 tangents as well, because this is a really heated topic. And what my argument is you make your own decisions. You spend your money, most cases, unless you got hacked or exploited. But even then it is still your decisions that led you there, because MetaMask is safe, right? Ledger is safe. Banks are relatively safe. It's behavior that guides everything. It's your choices, your decisions. Everything starts in your brain. So use your brain. And in the case of men, use your big head, not your small head. And be careful with the green candles and the narrative chasing. And yes, it could very well do another 10x from here. It could, but it will inevitably correct. I don't know how much. Man, maybe it keeps going.
Yeah.
No one knows. No. But history has shown us that these seasons, remember Doggy season, remember Doge season, remember God knows what else season. Metaverse,
DeFi. No, agreed. I agree with you. And I think if we step away from the influencer side on this part, something else to say later in this episode, but use your brain. At least use your ratio. If you look at certain chats right now, it reads like the Quamfy launch in September 2021.
Yeah.
And you should question yourself how sustainable this is. And sure, it might continue for a bit, but become more and more cautious.
My biggest mistake is being in a hurry.
Yeah.
Being in a hurry, being in a rush, and that's also a piece of advice when it comes to ledger and when it comes to your own finances. Make sure that everything is set up in a way that when you need to get to it, you know where it is and how you need to operate everything.
Exactly.
So every now and again, just plugging in your ledger, getting it from the secret hiding spot, and just trying to do a transaction and then just cancel it in the end, that will be invaluable. It is like, I was in the military, right? It's like training with your weapon, doing everything over and over. So when the shit hits the fan, let's say there's a humongous pump and you plan to sell it, your fingers will be shaking. So you might want to have everything ingrained in your muscles and in your brain. And the same goes with knowing your exchanges. Know what the fiat on and off ramps take, what the necessities are. Make sure your KYC is in check. So you have no nerves and you have no stress that if you want to do something, you are accustomed to the operations, because there's in the burn wallet from Quant, the burn wallet contains like what, 7,000 tokens or 3,000 tokens for, I can remember, but all from people that made mistakes. They just sent freaking tokens to the burn contract. And that is not because those people are idiots. Most likely people just are inexperienced.
Yeah.
So take your time, no rush, no haste. If you feel the FOMO, you feel it in your gut, that's absolutely the time to step back and reflect a bit on why you were feeling that way for a token that you do not own yet.
Yeah. And also bear in mind that FOMO and fear, I mean, greed and fear are the same emotion, and they usually go align with exactly the same market behavior. That at the moment you feel FOMO, it's gonna drop, and at the moment you feel total fear, like I did in June when I sold. The market started bouncing back. So please be aware of what you're doing right now, and notice that these seasons might continue, and there might be very good things. But please consider what you're doing, because it usually ends up like you do not expect it.
Yeah, and for me, right, most coins and tokens are just a plain no. I'll give you a couple of examples. Chainlink for me is a plain no. CheckD is a plain no. Monero, Bitcoin Cash, all those things are a plain no. But if a coin is like maybe then I'll just get like like I said, a handful, just so that I had the same with BitTensor. I needed to get it out of my bandwidth. It just kept rolling in the background, and then I'll just get a wee bag of it, or a bag that I think could give some decent returns, and I'll just buy once, and then I'm not going to go candle chasing. Then I just have some exposure. And I looked into my CoinGecko list. I've owned about 50 coins in the past 3 years, but seldom did I have more than like 1,000 euro in a token or in a coin. And that just limits my losses. It limits my stress level. It minimizes it. And in many cases, if you're early enough, you could get some decent returns. I mean, I think a third of my quant bag is from flipping coins. Just getting early in the AOBT, the HTR, and XCM, all those things. And I think it's mostly luck. I mean, a lot of people want to believe that there's a formula or something. I think it's just luck. And not overexposing yourself and every now and then. I mean, most of the things are just a hell no, right?
Yeah, I think it's luck in the sense that it is a casino, but it's also fishing, like we said. I mean, if you do really good research, you will find some projects which might be undervalued. If you think logically, you can spot patterns, but then still, there are more than 10,000 cryptos to choose from, and well, try
I
to
did
find
well.
a needle in a haystack, you know? It's
I
going to be
did
very
well
difficult.
on most of Dreadbongo's calls from 2020. So
Yeah.
the LBT, ZCX, HTR, all those tokens, I did well on them. I almost sold the top on almost everything by accident, not because of TA or whatever, but just Quant is down, they are up. Fuck it, might as well get rid of them now and flip them into Quant. That's how I roll. So yeah, a lot of people giving Bongo shit for being a shitcoin peddler. I did well with a lot of his calls. Granted, I mean almost everything went down 95% plus, right? So also his coins went down 95% plus. And yeah, he had some bad calls for sure. Everybody has them, and he also went into the dirt himself a couple of times, apologizing, explaining. I don't want to get into a review of Dreadbongo. But I know more people that did well with the calls he made. But yeah, there's also people that did worse. But yeah, 99% of people lose money, even in the bloody stock market, which is only up if you zoom out far enough. So it's like Tim said, manage your fear, manage your greed, use your brain, and in the end, there's nobody to blame but yourself, right?
Yeah, true.
Or to applaud and celebrate. I mean, you can do well as well, and then it's also your responsibility.
Yeah, although I have no clue at the moment what direction the market is heading. It could literally go anywhere. And usually it's a bit more predictable. But this time around, I'm not sure because there are so many variables that are in play. It's could literally go anywhere at this point. I don't know. Because usually what we've seen before we go into the price section. What you usually see is Bitcoin price action going up. Well, that happens, and then followed by some other coins. But this time around, I don't really feel like most projects are really going up. At least they're being stable, and it's mainly the money that is flowing into those AI coins.
Yeah,
but there is so much in play at the moment. It's completely unpredictable.
Looking at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is up 36% over 30 days. Looks pretty decent. Had a pretty big run up on January 14th, January 12th to January 14th. That was level a bit, then went up a bit. A lot of you guys know better than we do. But Bitcoin is now on, this is euros, 21,500. Let me flip that to dollars because people love that. 23K right now for Bitcoin. Quant is currently on CoinGecko position 36, 140 US dollars on the 30 days. We went from 113. Yeah, so we did a 22.8%. So it's like 8% lower than Bitcoin.
Yeah. We're even up compared to a year ago, apparently.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, just a dash. Since a year, we're up 3.4%, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Tim found an article in Dutch. And Quant was actually featured there. It's in just some random analysis thing, not a really a crypto thing, I felt.
No. And well, we already made the points in English, so it's not necessary to repeat it. But if you forgot, year over year, Quant did a minus 40% in 2022 from the 1st of January until the last day of December. And well, that wasn't too bad considering that the S&P did a minus 20%.
Yeah, and then Bitcoin minus 60-ish.
Yeah, minus 60, minus 70%. So
yeah. So
not too bad, not too bad.
Sure.
And we'll have to see what kind of direction we'll be taking. And interesting for sure, at least. And I it did spark my interest, and it does spark my interest in being in crypto once again. But it also remembers me if I was exposed to those other coins. It reminds me at least of the period in 2021 when everything was pumping and pumping and pumping, and Quant was staying stable. What I was doing was just flipping, just like Carno did, flipping it back into Quant. Selling my Bitcoin, selling my Ethereum, selling Polkadot, etc. So please keep that in mind.
You've been calling for that euphoria today. I do not see that euphoria at all.
In AI coins, I do see trends pointing towards euphoria. If you read those chats, if you go into it, the narrative literally is that everything is around the corner and that it will happen tomorrow. I don't see it happen. Sorry.
Look at the top 15. There's no massive spikes, no exceptional crazy shit.
Definitely, but we should also remember that the money from those other projects is now flipping towards those specific coins.
Maybe.
So it is. I think it kind of. I'm not saying it correlates, but I think there's some slight correlation here.
I see FAT is up 104 on the week. I mean, that's a lot, but not super duper crazy. Baby Doge, that's fucking crazy, up 122%. People, what is wrong with you? What are you doing with your money?
Yeah, I mean, even with FAT too, I mean, it's up like 104%. I think Factor Space is up 120% on the week. That's pretty significant. Coins are literally just going parabolic, and
that is. But look at where
I know where it's coming from.
It's position 507. Its all-time high was well over $30, $20. Yeah,
I think it's
still
all-time
down.
Yeah,
94%. VXV is still 94% down. So I don't know, and I know that results in the past are not indicative for potential for the future, or whatever you want to call it. But look at this. This is the VXV chart on the maximum time frame. This is, I mean, they have a long way to go. I don't know. I mean, they are technically all micro caps, right? The market cap is 42 million now.
Yeah.
And the volume is 3 million USD for VXV. 3 million. Yep. It's like absolutely positively nothing. So I feel what you're calling euphoria is just people testing the water, to be honest. I mean, it could very well be wrong and it could all just collapse in a bit, but I think the whole AI thing could very well have legs because there are so many entities talking about it. And I mean, big companies, right? This is in that regard a wee bit different than the doggy coins.
I do agree with you.
The DeFi stuff.
But please watch out. There are coins now randomly pumping based on nothing but the fact that AI is a narrative, and there is there is not a lot of evidence to back it up. And at some point, people will realize that. So I'm not buying it personally, literally.
No, that's also not what I'm saying. But calling euphoria for a niche, I don't know. Because when the euphoria for the dog coins occurred in 2021, everything was going bananas by that time, because it was pretty clear that people were selling off like their top 50 coins to get into the God knows what. That's not really there, and that there's euphoria in the groups, that's obvious. That's I mean, if you look at the Galileo group, when the NFTs were about to launch, they had, every time I watched, well over 100 messages. That could be called a euphoria. Maybe if you're in there with your face, if you just dropped in.
At least it's just excitement.
For sure. There's life in the market again, which is really good, because it was really fucking dead.
At the end of and it's good because at the end of the day, a profit's made. It's a zero-sum game, but people are at least getting into the market, and the profits being made will eventually turn towards solid projects, and that means that the money will eventually spin around and come towards us.
Or not. It could very well just evaporate. I mean,
if Gilbert delivers, at least that's what we're going to talk
look
about
at
now.
what happened with the FTX shit. Nobody profited. Well, almost nobody, because that just went to zero, and there was not a lot of value extracted at all. So
Right.
if a project dies, that doesn't mean that the value actually gets transferred to something else. It could literally just evaporate. That can happen. There's no how do you say, energy can just evaporate when it comes to valuations of companies. It doesn't mean that if you put $1 into the market cap, raises $1. That's obviously not how it works. I mean, something could just get decimated, but no value extracted, right?
Not sure how
So-
that works, honestly. Because eventually,
Well-
for every seller knows a buyer.
Yeah, that is
Every
true.
buyer knows a seller. So,
That is true. But if somebody decides with very with deep pockets and a lot of influence that he is going to dump a ton of Bitcoin for a certain price, and everybody would follow for that same price, and that's like half the current price right now, you can have a selling volume that is way lower
Mhm.
or way higher, but that just the price dips, that it just jumps back. Especially
Yeah.
with those really cheap projects, that's the slippage, right? You can have massive slippage, and that means that you do not have to put in 10K to raise the market cap 10K. You
Yeah.
can put in $1 and raise the market cap by $1 million. If
Yeah.
somebody decides to pay for Doge
Yeah.
$1 now,
I'm just not sure how this mechanic exactly works. I'll admit
No.
that, but what I do know is that there are people profiting. For every major loss, for every major crash, there is always
Yeah,
someone
that
winning
is-
money. And the short sellers made a fortune.
yeah, that's
So-
true. That's true. But what I was trying to say is that you do not necessarily always have that funds are getting extracted and rerouted to other protocols. Yes, there's always people making money. There's always people losing money, but it's not one-to-one, right? That fairy tale of the, how do you call them? The high market caps, low market cap, medium market cap, that flow thing. I
Mhm.
haven't seen that last year, and people keep
No.
claiming that it happens. Same as that there's all these people coming into the main group of Quant. How many tokens are there on exchanges? I'm like,
No.
I don't even respond to them anymore, because to me, it's an idiotic metric. And it was very relevant back when Bitcoin was the only thing in the fucking world, and
Mhm.
everybody carried everything on their ledger or whatever. But right now, with custody solutions, with more normies entering the space, there are not as many people holding their tokens on a self-custodial wallet anymore.
No.
They're just
no.
not. And then there's people like Tim and I, we choose to have a certain portion of our stacks on exchanges.
Yeah,
Doesn't
once
mean
again, for
jack shit.
being rapid in response as soon as the market starts pumping and we want to sell.
Yeah, or
I mean,
or just need liquidity, right?
Yeah, so one way or another, things are more complicated than they seem, and I agree with you
Yeah.
about that. I'm now quite a couple of years in crypto and stocks, but I'm still not sure about the market cap story. It's a recurring discussion, but what I do know, and the point I was trying to originally make,
Well, Tim, technically, if we start a TQS token, the Quamfy token,
yeah,
we can just decide that we put it on market, we create like 10,000, and we say the price is 1 cent. If one person says, I'll just buy 100 for $1, then your market cap is instantly 100x from what it was, because
Yeah.
that's how it works. The last paid price defines the market cap.
yeah, sure, but that also, I mean, we are constantly talking about this, what is it, 30 trillion market cap around 2030, something like that, 50 trillion, I don't know.
Yeah.
At least, but that does have consequences, because it means that people are apparently willing to pay so much money in the future, which will make us richer. So, I mean, there's a lot of psychology and lots of dynamics. Let's not go that way. But the only point I was trying to make here is that as soon as people make money because of these market conditions, it will flow back into solid projects, and then it will flow in towards the usual suspects. And I think QNT
it goes into other shitcoins and it evaporates there.
That is also a possibility, unless we do our work, and then we are one of the usual suspects where money will flow into. Okay, enough about market caps. And I mean, we will have this discussion eternally, I guess, because there are so many variables and factors, and I don't think there is necessarily a truth here. You have people saying market caps matter, people saying that they are kind of irrelevant. We will always have this discussion, I think. We will never
for sure
settle the debate. What we can kind of settle is the news about QNT. So let's focus on that, because there was kind of a tweet storm past couple of days.
Yes, there's a lot more buzz on quant, on interoperability, on practically everything quant related, and we'll start off with good old Gil.
Yeah.
So what we have here is a tweet from February 4th by Gilbert Verdian. Today, I was very pleased to hear the official approval of the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, SATP, working group in the IETF. So the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, he'll elaborate a bit later. We'll get through that. It used to be ODAP, the Open Digital Asset Protocol, collaboration between MIT, Quant, and another one I forgot, I believe IBM. But we'll dive into this a bit. So this has been a tremendous effort over the last 2 years, working with Thomas Harjano from MIT, Connection Science, Martin Hargreaves, and Wes Hardaker. There's a screenshot here from an email from Wes Hardaker. I hope most of you have seen the announcement, but just in case you haven't, the SATP working group is officially open and running. It's now time to buckle down and deliver what we promised in the charter. Thank you to everyone that has put so much effort into getting this off the ground. It's been a bumpy ride, but now it's time to get down to work and deliver the documents we promised we would. Cheers, and see you at IETF 116, either in person or virtually, signed Wes Hardaker. So that was what Gilbert included in his tweet, and let's give this some more clout. So Wes Hardaker and colleagues from Intel, IBM, Ernst & Young News, etc. This working group is also chaired by Quant Network's very own Claire Facer. The journey to IETF, starting in early 2003, while at CSC, the Computer Sciences Corporation, which is now DXC Technology, working as a security architect across private and public sector. And this is Gil's origin story, how he came to this idea, and the tweet is in the description. But how this came to be and came to exist, and what is interesting is the examples that he gives, right? He talks about TCP/IP, which is the internet, in the early 80s. He talks about protocol standards like SMTP, HTTP, SSL, TLS. These are all the password things and the encryption protocols we use for our internet and routers and such. Those things are all standardized. He talks about what the DoD did with the predecessor of the internet, ARPANET, in a way. He's talking about his ISO standards group, the TC307. So this is definitely worth a read to deep dive into this. He concludes with, I'm very much looking forward to working on SATP and seeing how the industry will implement it in their products and networks. Latest draft of the RFC is located at, there's a link there. So why is this cool? Well, because ODAP, SATP, is not going to be replacing the internet. Internet will stay. It will be an additional layer on top of this. And the biggest problem with the internet is not secure, right? Because everybody can host a server. And if you want to get on their website, you need to get onto their server. And it is like going into somebody's house. It could be very clean and very neat, but it could also be very dirty, or they have a very mean dog, or there could be anything going on. Maybe they're smokers, I don't know. And the same is right now with the internet. You just got to hold your breath, hope for the best. For transferring value, you have to go through servers, which is terribly dangerous in a way. You can get a direct line with VPNs and such, and that's then more complicated and etc. But it's still not good for value because it cannot be trusted. So the Open Digital Asset Protocol, SATP, Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, I still need to work to the terminology, is going to define how messages, value, and money get transacted. And what makes this interesting is their approach is what is in between gateways. And gateways, you guys know. So you have a remote connected gateway on the one end, remote connected gateway on the other end. And if I'm now holding up my left hand and my right hand, my thumb and my index finger with a space in between, those are the gateways. So on the ends of my index fingers, that is where the servers will be. And the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol will be in between my thumbs. So what you now see is that the remote connector gateways are like the buffer in between the routers, meaning that if something gets transferred from my left hand to my right hand, it does not have to go anywhere. It can make a direct connection. It can be totally encrypted because it's getting encrypted on my left index finger and it gets decrypted on my right index finger, but on the server side of things. So the gateways know nothing. The gateways store nothing. The gateways cannot manipulate anything. And then the thumbs are sending the message standardized, mind you, from one to the other. And now imagine that I had 10 thumbs and 10 index fingers, and they are all sending the same message from one end to the other. And then you also have your consensus figured out. So what is happening in between those gateways, that is what they are creating. That's going to be the extra layer on the internet, if you will. And it will be using the internet, but it will use a different protocol. Same as that the darknet still exists. And this is like way, way, way out of my knowledge and my comfort zone, talking about different internets. But there are, I believe, 3 or 4 internets underneath or on top or parallel to the current internet, on which you can do things. And we're just using the www. But there's other options. And ODAP will be, to my understanding, SATP, one of those. And that will be, if I remember correctly, an open source solution. And it will be standardized, ISO, etc. That's why they are in bed with the IETF. Tim, was that more or less understandable to you?
Trying to process what you just said.
But to a degree, did you get the analogy from the thumb and the index finger?
Not necessarily, but I did get the last part. I mean, no, but I was just trying to process what you said. I think if I
failed.
Listen it. No, you didn't. I think if you just re-listen it, it will make sense. And I'm not that fast to try to understand complex issues. But I do understand the last part that you said, as in that they are simply building a layer on top or above or beneath, I don't know, based on the current internet, so that you will get a new type of protocol through which everything functions.
The internet is just the internet, right? And we spoke about.
and I have no clue how the internet works. It's just I log in on a website and it starts working, and I don't really care what the technology is, honestly.
It's
as
just
it works,
cables. It's cables. It's data streams. No. Listen. We looked at this. The entire infrastructure, the internet, that's a given. That's like all the submarine cables for LACChain. LACChain, we're getting to that in a bit as well. But it's just data. It's just data going through cables from A to B. That's the internet. And there's a bunch of cables going around the world, and that is how data gets transferred. SATP will use that same quote unquote bandwidth, those same
obviously.
cables. Okay.
But the software that you create on top of it is different. I think that is what they're hinting at, and they've been working on it for quite a while now, and they've made another significant step forwards. Sure. And that is cherished. And whatever it means for us, I have no clue, but it's a good thing. And I think we should conclude it there. And there are some people, very knowledgeable people in our community, we can help out, but I have no clue.
I can clarify a bit. So this is not a quant token fueled solution, right?
No,
I brought up on my screen, by the way, the IETF active working groups, because the proof is in the pudding. You can look this up, datatracker.ietf.org/WG, and then just look for SATP. And then you can see the SATP group. Responsible ad is Paul Wouters. He's a Dutchman. And
or Belgian.
Touche. And you got the, so I click this here, SATP, and then you got Claire also here. That's Claire Facer from Quant. So this is not Quant operated. Mind you, Quant has been integral in the development. Yeah, they've been in this group since the beginning, about. Yeah, and Martin Hargreaves has been talking about this, and there have been a ton of meetings. So what you can now say is that this is going to be open source, right? So this is going to be in between the gateways, like I explained earlier, and Quant will not be used for SATP itself. But it gets really interesting if you are Gil and you have been thinking for 20 years about how to do this and what you need to do for this, right? So he's on the IETF, he's on all these boards and all these groups, and then decided to make his little gateways, because they are the, and I'm just picking up my two vaporizers, is not promotion, but these are the gateway things. And he already designed this because he knows that these things and the coils that go in here are going to be instrumental when this in-between space, now my pinkies, now it's getting real complicated, when that goes live. So if that protocol, imagine thinking of Android. Android is an open source thing. Imagine that you thought up that Android should be the solution. And whilst you are making all the connections and all the networks, you are on the back end creating your Samsung phones or your phones, right? So that is where the Quant tokens are. The gateways are the Samsung phones, and the QNT tokens are integral for that. So it's really clever. It's really clever to have a solution and then create another solution for that solution, and then monetize either one of those. So there's going to be competition because there's other people that are going to be running API gateways. I mean, an API gateway, everybody can run an API gateway. But Quant already knew that this would be coming. They have been working towards this. So they will undoubtedly be first, in my opinion, all my opinion.
Yeah.
And they will, in my opinion, undoubtedly be the biggest.
Yeah.
And if you want to have a successful company, you need to be either first or the biggest.
Sure. Yeah.
Or both. And I think they're doing well on both ends. That's why everybody's so enthusiastic about SATP. And again, there will be competition, and there will be other people that are going to have their gateway protocols and stuff, which is fine. Because if you think that the internet is big, imagine if all the hospitals, all the banks, all the governments are able to run their infrastructure on this protocol instead of using all these proprietary, very expensive means of value transfer right now. Imagine it will obliterate the scale of what we can perceive as possible. The amount of data that is not being sent over the internet at this time is stupendous, because it is not secure, because it is not to be trusted, because you cannot trust who's on the other end. Anybody can say whoever he wants to be. You have no way of verifying. I mean, how many email accounts do you have? I have like 6. I use a VPN all the time. I have many different pseudonyms. I have different email addresses for many different things, because nobody is to be trusted. Well, not DM you first. Why not? If everybody has a verified account, you can do that on a public permission network, like LACChain, for instance.
Okay, enough.
Yeah,
I mean, I get you. No, it's cool.
Tim is zoning out.
Cool. No. Yeah, well, I'm also zoning out, but interesting stuff. I mean, yeah, it's the entire strategy of Gilbert and the company, and
yeah,
I have written this in the chapter as well. Keep referring to it, and that's exactly the point I lined out. And we talked about this in previous Quamfy shows past year, also with Bos and with Niels. I think, but the entire way to kind of roll this standardization process out and how smart they are doing it. They're literally going to the core of the infrastructure, and they have ingrained themselves in there. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we already now we have this standard. We already have a product that exactly meets the standard that we just created together.
Yeah.
So instead of building a product for a standard, they first built the standard themselves, and then they also have a product besides it.
Yeah, and what is interesting, I don't know who said this, but that's the way Gilbert and Quant run. Whenever they go to all these events, they're not shilling Overledger, they're not shilling their product. No. They are just emphasizing problems, explaining problems, top down. And if you are perceived to be the main leading authority on something, people will start asking around you, and then other entities will promote your solution to them.
Exactly.
So then they're coming to you like, okay, so
that's
this
what
is
they've been doing with Oracle, for example, and NEXI.
Yeah.
That's literally what they're doing, what we're seeing.
Yeah, let other people
cool
ask.
Stuff, man.
Yeah, really, for sure.
Did you know, by the way, now we're talking about NEXI, I saw this tweet of very briefly. Because
new partnership.
Yeah, with Eni, I think, oil company, something like that.
Energy.
Yeah, something like some kind of energy company. At least they're gonna do the payment infrastructure for them, which makes NEXI even bigger. And well, that's good for us, because more stuff on NEXI means more stuff probably on Overledger. And
it's ENI. It's ENI. I pulled it up. Let's look really quickly, because this is not also just an arbitrary crypto partnership. Here, NEXI, the European PayTech, will be Eni's preferred partner in Europe for the evolution and implementation of payment solutions for its business customers and consumers. So Milan, February 6, 2023, Eni and NEXI announced they have signed an agreement for the development of innovative electronic and digital payment services for Eni and its companies in Italy and Europe. The collaboration entails that NEXI will be Eni's primary partner, both ensuring the best evolution of existing payment services and defining and implementing new solutions to support the energy company's businesses, particularly sustainable mobility and plenitude. To accomplish this goal, the companies will team up their best-in-class expertise in their respective markets. This partnership will enable Eni to improve the customer experience, yada, yada, yada. In turn, NEXI will benefit from the opportunity to work with Eni to develop new business synergies and new solutions, as well as continuing to provide and enhance its digital payment services to the energy company.
Yeah.
Yeah, NEXI, Europe's paytech company operating in high growth, attractive European markets and technologically advanced countries, listed on Euronext Milan, blah, blah, blah. So NEXI, public company, huge. Look in the description. There's more juice there. And Quant is indeed integrated into their infrastructure ever since they merged with SIA. Since SIA integrated Quant back in 2019, 2020.
So that's some nice stuff on the site.
Yeah,
and there were more tweet storms today. So we had all the setup SATP thingies. We had NEXI, and there's
we needed to make
article.
choices. Yeah, you brought up LACChain, so I thought I'd throw that in. Yeah, LACChain won an award, right?
Oh yeah, they did.
Congratulations, LACChain community. We won the #SocialInnovation category at Inatba.org Awards 2023. 7.8 million people benefited from projects deployed on LACChain, #blockchain networks, orchestrated by @LACCnet networks. LACChain is LACChayn. And it's the Latin American and Caribbean blockchain network, which is pretty huge. Quant will be the infrastructure for the Latin American dollar. If your mind is not blown enough already. And Inadba Gilbert's obviously on there with Quant. A lot of congratulations in the comments by Crypto Nerd, just the tech guy, Jeff, Brett Bongo, and all the other usual suspects. LACChain is the thing to watch. We'll link a couple of videos, or at least one in the cards, because we covered them a couple of times.
Yeah, congratulations. And LACChain follows us. It's also pretty cool. They follow us on Twitter. So congratulations, guys. Yeah. Good work. And we can't wait
Social
to see
innovation.
What's in store.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there was this article from Andrew Carrier. I think we need to address it today.
You want to go to that one? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can skip over the...
No. Let's go there.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Let's see. So we have February 7th, 2023. So that is hot off the press. I just had it in my inbox a couple of hours ago. Skimmed through it really quickly. And what I noticed is the title is interesting. Commercial Stablecoin Issuance, Part 1. Consideration and Benefits by Andrew Carrier. ANZ, Christopher Christopher Agatangelo. And Deloitte, they are tagged under the title. When I read through the article, I was like, okay, there is a lot of name dropping in there. And I'll just scroll down to the bottom, because what is tagged is ANZ, good old Christopher, Deloitte, Financial Institutions, Finality International, Ian Taylor, ING, JP Morgan, KPMG, Mica, Mitsubishi and Japan, NetWest, Progmat Coin, PwC, so that's PricewaterhouseCoopers, RAM Stablecoin, and Teunis Brozens. There's a lot of quotes in here. That's why it sparked my interest of usual suspects that we know are partners with Quant or are like very, very likely. And KPMG is obviously one. Same as JPM Coin, etc. So the quote from good old Christopher is, distributed ledgers will help level the playing field by lowering the barriers to entry to financial markets. This is what we call a Gilbertism. And that's cool, because this man is the head of digital capital markets and Flow Credit NetWest. And I know we sound a little bit like XRP Riddlers right now. But that's kind of how the FA used to work back in the day. So the first paragraph reads, banks around the world, including some well-known global brands, have begun issuing their own digital currency known as commercial stablecoins. The benefits are significant, but it's not all plain sailing. There are a variety of factors to consider before implementing. And go through this article, but there are 4 points, the factors that Andrew has written down to consider. We want to go through. So as global bank interests in stablecoin issuance begins to build, there are several factors to consider, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers. There's a hyperlink there as well. Let's put that also in the description. That's a PDF. Attestation is number 1. An attestation report confirms the existence of the underlying assets, which back the stablecoin. PwC advises that the reporting should be completed by a certified professional services organization. This sounds so super logical, right?
It is, yeah.
But is it? I mean, we have seen plenty of examples of depegging and other malpractices occur in crypto, because this is obviously digital money. So fraud can be a lot easier if there's not the proper guardrails, and I'll get to that in a bit. But you need a professional third party to audit this. That's why we, Quamfy Show, are no fan of exchanges, tax havens. Did you see, by the way, I don't know if that was fake or not, but apparently Binance is holding US
I saw it.
withdrawals.
Yeah, I saw it. But I was kind of puzzled what that means, because they said, well, people aren't really using it anyway. So I was like,
it was just a highlight. I don't have the details, so maybe just forget about it or drop it in the comments.
Yeah,
whatever.
But yeah, attestation. So yeah, that seems like a logical first step. Like, if you want to make things mainstream, at least get it checked that it works.
Yeah.
Step 2, nature of reserve holdings. A well-designed stablecoin requires a range of high-quality liquid assets for collateralization purposes.
Yeah.
Also, sounds very logical to me.
Yeah, but looking at Mica, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's monetary
the
policy,
European
crypto. Yeah, exactly.
Thingy.
They dove into this and they tried to define, and I think they have, high quality liquid assets. What are those? How do you define this? Is Bitcoin high quality liquid asset? Is Bitcoin liquid asset? Sorry. Oh, this is
nearing the end of the episode. So.
Yeah, man. Exhaustion setting in. Setting in now. So high quality liquid assets. I think that is not very easily defined, and there are already rules and regulations for banks to what extent they can have backing by let's say oil, or backing by, let's say, something else. I can imagine that if this becomes a thing, that then crypto could potentially also be a means by which you can back something. But what does it have to, because this is an entirely new asset class, so everything needs to be defined. And I know they tried, right, with the stable coins. Can you remember USDC, USDT? Everything failed. Everything failed the test because they all, by the definition of the bank, depegged to their fiat peg, which is really funny to me thinking about this, because the dollar and the euro both fluctuate a lot more than most stablecoins do, but the stablecoins need to follow the fiat. It's a little bit of a messy thing if you ask me, but I mean, we gotta have benchmarks, right? Yeah. So, but the nature of reserve holdings is really important, because that's what went wrong with FTX. They just backed their fucking investments with their own shitcoin.
Yeah, with their own algorithm. Okay,
Yeah.
the third point, regulatory oversight and registration. Both the stablecoin and the legal entity responsible for its operation need to fall under the imprimatur of a regulatory body and ought to be established in a well-governed jurisdiction with a well-established legal system.
Yeah.
Ooh, here's where it gets juicy. This is a direct step at most stablecoin providers, which are all settled in the Bahamas, the Cayman Islands, and whatnot.
Seychelles, Hong Kong. Yeah.
Pretty clear.
That's it.
We talked about it enough. Point 4, technology. PwC.
No.
I mean, come on. What else can we say, right? I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know in the comments how you feel.
Move on. Technology.
Yeah, PwC advises that the overall usefulness of the stablecoin depends on how well its underlying technology integrates with conventional non-blockchain technologies. This entire article is like stating the obvious. Like water is wet. Like, nice job, guys.
No, water is just water, dude.
Yeah, water is water. Okay, fair enough. No, but I mean, it's a nice part 1. I'm not sure what is in the rest of the article, but
yeah. So no, but this part, right? According to PwC, a viable stablecoin ought to have 4 key characteristics. Name one stablecoin, one that we know that qualifies. Exactly. Quant.
Perhaps I think USDC.
$140 stablecoin.
I think USDC would come closest to it, but even that will fill in some parts.
Yeah. So this is not so obvious, right? This is not so obvious.
No. Yeah. So what is in the rest of the article?
Over the course of the next few years, I would expect to see some stablecoin issuance pegged to euro and or sterling, or at least start being tested. Multiple banks have taken an interest in crypto and DeFi and in possible stablecoin issuance now that EU regulation has been finalized. Comments Teunis Brozens, the head economist for digital finance and regulation at ING. So,
cool.
In a paper audit by Deloitte, who wants to be a stablecoin user, its author suggested in the near term, banks should work through the range of possible scenarios in which stablecoins could unfold, engaging strategy, blah, blah, blah. So they're giving all these, how do you say, handholds? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
They're laying the foundation, right? This is a part 1. So they are educating everybody. They're providing sources, as they should, for every statement that they make, as they should. And that's why there's a lot of the name dropping and tags in there.
And basically, I think if I want to skip a bit over the article because I'm looking at the clock and the other topics that we want to cover. I think they're kind of making, at least as I'm interpreting this, they're kind of voorsorteren. What's the word in English? They're kind of what's the word? They're kind of already working towards the suggestion of, hey, stablecoins might not be the answer. We might be looking at a CBDC.
No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong.
No,
you're wrong. This is actually talking about stablecoins, how they can be used between businesses, how it can be used between just customers and businesses, etc. So
okay.
The CBDC is a central bank coin, and that's going to be used for traffic back and forth from the central bank. And that's not necessarily going to be just a means of payment between customers and businesses or whatever. It could very well be that there is going to be a ton of stable coins that are then being used within different ecosystems.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
read the article yourself. Look it up. It's in the description. And it's some nice extra information schooling you all from Quant. And apparently, we also need to be schooled a bit more. So we'll do that. Jarno, we have one final piece.
In the second part, they will, in the second, well, okay, this is the first in a two-part series of articles on stablecoin issuance. The second, in which we examine the risks, will be published later this month. Subscribe, blah, blah. So,
Yes.
how long
Yeah.
are we in on this episode?
We are 1 hour and 29 minutes in.
Okay, then we're gonna cut it off here. Then we're gonna lift the other topic.
Are we though? Are we though? Because I think we still. Can we say a bit about it, or do you want to?
Yeah, no, we
next
can.
episode. I mean,
No, we can.
yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry for cutting the article. I mean, it's a nice technical discussion, in all honesty, and you know how I am always with the technicals.
It's not a technical
nice.
discussion. It's
No, I mean, no,
what
no,
should
I mean, with the stable coins and the la, it will happen in the future and will be relevant. And I don't know, but I think that there are some things community-wise that we should be
I
addressing.
disagree, but I respect your veto in this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there was some turmoil. Yeah, there has been some turmoil in
yeah,
the quant community regarding Greg. Greg was kicked from the Quamfy Lounge and from the main group. And I disagreed with that. I think it sets a very dangerous precedent. I left the Quamfy Lounge. I think the way that the mob, so to speak, is treating Greg right now is very unjust. I think it's a travesty, to be honest. I think the man has developed a reputation in some people's minds, and there's a couple of people in there that have very large mouths, a very vocal minority that is leading the narrative. And I had my piece. When I left, I spoke with Greg, and I was like, okay, so this is going to be it. And then Tim and I spoke in Dutch last episode, and we dove in like, okay, so what is happening? Why are we doing this? What does it originate from, and what will it lead to potentially? And it's a little bit of a self-importance thing that was very valid in the beginning, but is an outdated conviction at this time, since quant is growing, etc. It's like the story of the elephant. A baby elephant goes to work at a circus, and he gets like this little piece of rope tied around his paw onto a pole. And every time he tries to break free, it doesn't work. And every time the elephant grows up, he gets like a bigger rope, and eventually rope gets thicker, blah, blah. And then eventually they don't change the rope anymore because the elephant doesn't even try to escape anymore. He just gets used to whatever. Lost my train of thought. The elephant has a conviction that there is a certain truth. And that the truth is that he will never, ever escape, because he can never, ever break that rope. And we feel, I think, that the quant community still thinks that they are the epicenter of everything that happens price-wise with quant, and that they need to defend their narrative and their culture with tooth and nail. Is that the thing?
Yeah.
I need a breather, Tim. Can you take over?
Yeah, no, yeah, and basically we discussed and things happened last week, so already the heat is off for a bit, but we still felt like addressing this in English as well. And what we've just been seeing also with the fallout, and this is, by the way, the first English episode after the entire tokenomics video we did with Greg, is that, well, people for some reason they cannot, and you were already going into the importance of the community. But people are for some reason not accepting that some facts, things you can check, might not align entirely with their narrative. And that is not making the community any better if we can't have these whistleblowers every now and then who kind of keep us in check. And the way we treat them, at least on certain platforms, isn't necessarily helping, because that is the metaphor of the elephant. We cannot entirely control the price of QNT anymore, right? We're getting bigger and bigger, and most people don't even know who many of us are, because there are more and more holders coming in. That's the point.
To be clear, Greg did not get kicked because of that, right? He got kicked
not necessarily
because he tagged SIMBAchain and he tagged the US Air Force, and he was blatantly wrong. He claimed that SIMBAchain was built on Overledger,
that wasn't correct.
Which is false. We already knew that was false. It was just poor choice of wording, in my opinion. What cannot be denied, and we have episodes on this very channel, one of the first partnership videos in the partnership series, I'll link it. SIMBAchain was a quant partner, no doubt. And if you look at the solutions that they provide right now, that is still quant tech. But if they have a white label contract now and they're not a partner anymore, which could very well be possible because there is no trace to be found of a partnership anymore. Also no trace of a termination of partnership, mind you. The writing is literally on the wall, and they could be white labeling, they could be whatever they're doing, but the chances that they are not using Quantech are slim to none. But if they have a white label, they are under NDA, no doubt. They need to promote this as if this is their own thing. When they got tagged and the US Air Force got tagged and they got accused, right? He technically accused SIMBAchain of using Overledger and QNT as a result. That could pose a problem for their partnerships, right? Governments, military generally do not want exposure to quant tokens or other crypto projects, either by reputation or by lack of knowledge or whatever, which also makes perfect sense. So they categorically denied, they commented under the initial reaction that they are not involved with the crypto company, there is no token, and blah, blah, blah. Well, that actually underscored my belief that there is more going on that reaches the eye, i.e. a white label. And they are correct, because there is no need for the token for their solution, because that all happens on the back end, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, Greg was wrong. In my opinion, also maybe to tag them directly and use the wording he did. But
we've been schooled many times of not doing that. Don't tag companies.
Yeah, but that's where the problems arise, because why can't he do that? Why? I mean, yes, he's stirring the pot. Yes, he's stirring shit. He did get a nice little response once again, which gave us a little bit of information. And in the end, there's not really any damage done. But this was a cumulative action, and he got kicked from the community. Then a couple of days later, I found that just a tech guy tweeted something. And bear with me. The trial of Socrates in 399 BC is a significant event in Western philosophy and has much to teach us about contemporary issues. Socrates was charged with impiety and corrupting the youth of Athens, and despite his eloquent defense, he was ultimately sentenced to death by drinking hemlock. This trial raises questions about the intersection of free speech and religion. as well as the tension between individual beliefs and the opinions of the masses. In a similar vein, today's woke culture often involves cancel culture and the public shaming of those who hold different opinions or engage in actions deemed unacceptable by certain groups. Just as Socrates was accused of corrupting the youth, individuals today can face backlash for spreading what is perceived as harmful or dangerous ideologies. The trial of Socrates reminds us that it's crucial to question our own beliefs and engage in meaningful discourse, even with those we agree with, in order to arrive at a more just society.
And we disagree with.
Sorry, we disagree with in order to arrive at a more just society. Thank you. So, yes, just a tech guy can be a little bit tinfoil hat sometimes, which is fine. Doesn't mean that he is wrong here, right? Yes, I do not agree with everything he writes all the time. I do not, and that's also okay. But this is so very much on point with the cancel culture and free speech religion. What do you think of the culture and the religion in Quamfy Lounge? We know tagging entities is frowned upon. Yes, that has been instructed, and people have been called out many, many times, myself included. On the other hand, there's a ton of admins doing it themselves on occasion.
Yeah.
And whenever the outcome is quote unquote positive, fits the narrative, nobody bats an eye. But then when something backlashes and it interferes with our beliefs of the world and whatever, as if the reaction of SIMBAchain would have any meaningful impact on the QNT price. As if. But still, Greg got the boot, he got canceled, and that was after he was taking shit from people in almost every group on a daily. It is, and why? Because he communicated that there are 14.88 million tokens. Hello, motherfuckers, wake up call, it's on the blockchain. And what bothers me so much is that the blockchain data is what is real, right? There's no arguing with on-chain data. And that's still in the quant community group. And I know I'm going on very thin ice here. There are educated people there. And that they know blockchain. And they know how it works. And I'm talking about the veterans in this community. How, with a straight face, can we still share that there are 14.612 million tokens? Because it's wrong. Because it is wrong. Why? Because the blockchain is wrong. And Gil, if you're watching this, I love you, my man. I really do. But the information that is being spread in your community channel is wrong, and your admins are doing it wrong. And why? Yeah, no, people won't understand. It's too difficult to explain. And I'm not going to name drop here, but I DM'd and I asked why? Why do we still share the old numbers? Yeah, because that is what we went with. And it's too difficult to explain to new people that the numbers on the coin trackers are incorrect, and it will create a lot of discussion. Who the fuck cares? Why would we care? What is the truth? What is right? What is wrong? We are in a community channel now with all our knowledge. I mean, most of the admins have blockchain backgrounds or developer backgrounds. You know the blockchain is the truth. Why are you intentionally spreading misinformation? I think it's wrong. I think we should not do this. And we should not be scared for discussion, for arguments. And if we're looking at Sebastian, he did want to come on the show. He didn't want to talk to other people. Why? Because he's afraid of the backlash by the people in the community. Because some of you guys are proper cultists. Because you are either uneducated or unwilling to adapt. and you're just attacking people, and we are going to get shit for this video, and that's fine. Because there is, and this is what the Quamfy show wants to be, a down-to-earth kind of thing.
Mhm.
And if the facts change, so does our mind. I believe, was that Einstein that said it? I don't know. But
Well-
how crazy is it to kick somebody from a community that has done so much research as Greg did?
I agree.
Because he got it wrong, because he broke one of our social rules on our Telegram? Guys, what the hell are we doing? What do we want? And again, this is what we started with, Tim, right? The self-importance. Back in the day when Quant was only on IDEX, yes. If you farted in a Quamfy lounge, the price pumped or dumped, depending on how the fart smelled. But right now, we don't have that clout anymore. We don't have that impact anymore, and it's only going to get less and less. But please let the people that come to our Quant community channel at least get correct information, and let's stop with punishing and shaming people that are doing the deep research.
Yeah.
I mean, we're ostracizing people for what?
Exactly.
Do we only want people to publish things that they know that are correct and that are right? I mean, we can fucking repost 10 million times the same goddamn quote and message from Gilbert, like a circle jerk. Does it add anything? Does it improve the order of the universe? Getting things wrong every now and then, that makes everything better. That helps us to learn, to educate. I mean, we now learned that SIMBAchain is most likely a white label and another partnership, which is amazing, because that is like the core thing that Gilbert said that they would be approaching. They wanted to get their tech out there. They don't want to be well known. They don't give a shit. So this is even more confirmation. Greg, well done, dude. Good job for getting this out in the world. But we kicked him, we ostracized him from the community. And I think it's a shame. And this rant went on a little bit more with my heart rate, but it's I'm really passionate about this. I think it's disgusting.
I am quite. I mean, I've been quite passionate about this as well, and the only thing I learned from this is if we continue this kind of behavior, it's just really demotivating to start arguing with people if all the kinds of information that we all kind of distribute among everyone is just being said to be, well, it's fake because it doesn't align with my ideas. I mean, come on, that shouldn't be an argument, right? People said, yeah, well, you're just a retail investor. Yeah, well, I'm just a retail investor, but I'm also just a retail investor that has done the research, has checked it on in multiple ways, and who is also being confirmed by the blockchain, the very reason that I'm investing here. And the type of arguments that people are retreating into do increasingly not make any sense, and we are only making ourselves ridiculous. And it's just,
they're called fallacies, right?
Exactly. And I think if this path is to be continued, it will demotivate people, and it's not going to make the community any healthier. And at least what's left of being a community, right? Because my prediction is that all the things we are seeing right now will kind of start to evaporate as the future continues. And things have been really well. And well, I really appreciate everything we've done. But we should continue on a healthy path, and that is correcting yourselves when new information enters, and not just cutting people off as soon as new information reaches us. And that's exactly what we're doing.
And admins need to stop gatekeeping what information should be consumed by the community. Because we claim to be transparent and such, but
not necessarily are.
No, I mean, if we cannot share everything, if people feel like they cannot share everything because they'll be attacked personally, then admins are not doing their work. And one admin that I've seen doing the work the way he should be is Quantidian.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been neutral, and I think that's so damn important.
Yeah.
That the admins are a neutral factor modifying behavior, not information, right?
No,
That's
I mean,
at
the end of the day,
job.
it is all about information. And as long as the information aligns with what we know and is correct and not being gatekept, it's fine. There is one instance, though.
The group is a community. The admins are the police officers.
True.
They need to monitor the behavior of the people in there, not the information. If I'm walking on the street and I want to be there and I want to be screaming whatever the hell I want, police in the Netherlands can't do shit about it. But as soon as I start hitting people and smacking people or being truly in violation of the laws of the rules, then they should act. But the nature of the information should not be modified. And the messenger should never be shot. God damn it, guys.
No. There are instances, though, where it is being justified. I mean, we've had this historical incident where actual confidential information leaked. Those are instances when you can intervene, and that's all fine, because that is ultimately hurting the company. But in all those
nobody got lynched for that. Nobody got lynched for that.
No, not necessarily. It was just by accident, and we all acted accordingly. And that's fine. But if other information is being gatekept for whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily make sense, if you ask me. I think,
why would you bring this information out, dude? I can't remember which idiot said that.
And also, I mean, we're not really necessarily doing this for our own benefit. We're just trying to be as neutral as we are, and sometimes information is negative, and well, that happens. And some information is positive. And
information is just information. That's what we said in the Dutch show, right? Yeah. Information is just information. Nothing is positive. Nothing is negative. It just is.
Yeah.
Data.
What we do with it.
Data is, and our interpretation, our labeling, that's what makes it one thing or the other. But that's a matter of perspective. There's no right or wrong, good or bad, whatever. And as soon as we start labeling information, which is neutral, or data, which is neutral, that's one thing. But if we then start to filter things out because they don't fit our narrative or whatever, I think that's just also plain old wrong. Doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help anybody.
That's not going to help us, and
doesn't help the project either. I mean, we're spreading misinformation right now, in fucking the main chat. How many tokens are there? There are 14.6 million tokens. No, motherfucker. Sorry, no. It's just
14.88. No.
Yeah, but Gilbert says, I'm sorry, Gilbert is wrong.
Yeah, and also, let's not enter this discussion again.
Yeah.
I think, that's about the 14.610 and a 14.
Oh yeah, the 14.612. Yeah.
So even that is not consistent. Anyway,
the initial typo. Shit happens.
Yeah, I wanna move towards the end.
Yeah. Let's close up.
Yeah. So basically, a busy week.
Yeah.
Busy 2 weeks. There lots of things happened.
We're still getting used to the 2-week schedule, right? Yeah. Last 2 weeks, dude.
Last 2 weeks. Yeah. And I'm still waiting for an update, by the way. If that ever happens. It's been ages.
When H1?
When H1, indeed.
We'll get there.
But we did get a lot of fantastic other content. Sorry for skipping over the article about stable coins. I was a bit...
it's going to be...
I was a bit short-sighted there, but yeah.
It's going to be an important one, right? Because every new party that wants to establish a stable coin in the future will have to follow certain rules. I mean,
Definitely.
These stable coins, just a little less nuance, is like the USDC, USDT, whatever. If you want to create a stable coin, they have to abide by XYZ. And as soon as that is all hashed out in the future, then we could have a TQS stable coin, Euro peg, dollar peg, yen peg, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so not a CBDC.
Those are some things that happen on the background, the fundamental FA. I think if you want to learn more about it, also with the SATP, the Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, go listen to the latest roundtable by Ghost. He also talked about stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely check all the information out, and there's just so much going on. And well,
yeah, the place is bubbling, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
We'll try
boiling.
to keep you as best informed as we can, and there might be a new blog soon on our website as well. Try to keep you entertained. Are you not
Tim is
entertained?
benched. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it for as far as I know. I think we've been talking for almost 2 hours.
Yeah, man, it's enough.
We covered a lot. I think we did a great job once again.
Yeah. Let us know, please, in the comments what you think. Leave a like, do subscribe, and if you have any suggestions for the show, let us know. Kindly also, like I said, give some feedback. Give us something to work with, and we'll do our best to oblige where we can. And for now, check the resources in the description to make sure you're getting all the deeds for the things that are relevant to you. And then in 2 weeks, we'll be back in English. There'll be a highlight. I shouldn't call it a highlight video in English coming Monday based on this video, most likely. And until then, stay Quamfy.
Stay Quamfy.